Christmas Bloody Christmas is what happens when you take the DreamWorks Small Soldiers movie and mix it with a bit of Terrifier and Santa's Sleigh. Now let's talk about it. This movie is about, well, a bloody Christmas. The hottest new Christmas decoration is a Santa Claus animatronic. But this isn't some Spirit Halloween crap. This Santa is fully equipped with super soldier murder technology and his default is set to kill. There is a huge recall on these robots because, who would have guessed, the few people who could afford one of these things are getting hurt by them. Our main girl Tori doesn't care though, and after seeing the news at the bar, she tells the guy to turn it off, and her friend Robbie keep on drinking. Before that moment, it was just about like 20 minutes of character building and introductions. I didn't find it to be boring, however I will say that for some people the first 20 minutes or so might feel like a chore to sit through. But trust me, if that's you, it is well worth the wait. After getting to Tori's place, they get drunk some more, she lets Robbie eat her out, then they smoke some weed. All the while the house next door is being attacked and brutally murdered by Robo-Santa. Robo-Santa also killed a couple banging in the toy store. That couple being friends we're introduced to, and well, obviously we're never gonna see them again. But here, Santa's butchering up a family. And one kill that surprised me, especially because it was on screen, was a little boy taking an axe to the shoulder. That boy, by the way, really stood out as a bad actor. Everyone else was good, and some even great, like Tori and Robbie. However, I was really thankful that kid only had a handful of lines. Moving on, Santa then visits Tori's house, and the rest of the movie is essentially one long-ass chase scene. Bodies drop, blood is shed, and eventually Tori is all on her own to face off against Santa Claus. For about 20 minutes or so. Her long fight with Santa might also bore people, but personally, I didn't really have an issue with it. Tori eventually gets the upper hand for like the third, fourth, or fifth time, and puts the Santa Super Soldier down for good. This movie was so much fun. Yeah, there were times when the editing seemed a bit off, like when the little boy's calling out for his mom and Tori can hear him from her house. Didn't sound like he was yelling. If anything, it sounded like he was talking in the other room with only a single wall between them. And all the quick shots can also be a bit confusing, especially when they take place in the dark, so you might not notice what you're supposed to. But those are really the only cons. At times, editing seemed a bit off. The quick actiony scenes can be a little confusing. Everything else about this movie, in my opinion, is great. You've got characters that feel like a real group of friends, or at least, townsfolk that know each other well enough. You've got some pretty good music, some crazy kills and effects. Only 1.5 kills were off screen, a man being axed and one of the officers being killed out of view before having his body thrown into a fire. But of the kills we get, they're really good as well. We see a man get his head sliced into, a guy stabbed in the back and his skull caved in. There's Tori's sister who gets her neck snapped and has bones sticking out. Robbie, whose death really surprised me, takes an axe straight to the face that smashed him against a car. I could go on. They did a great job with the effects. Well, okay, there was one scene in particular where the somewhat melted Santa gets up from under a car and it looked a lot like an obvious dummy or puppet or whatever. In that instance, he was the Spirit Halloween decoration, but aside from that, nothing even looked amateurish. They really killed it. In the end, I thought Christmas Bloody Christmas was a seriously killer Santa flick that I think is going to make a lot of horror fans' top 10 Christmas horror flicks. And also, just for the sake of letting people know, the movie has a lot of flashing lights, so if that's something that bothers you at all, keep that in mind. Now finally, I would rate this 2022 Killer Santa flick a high 8 out of 10. If you've seen this movie, let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Have a nice day.
Most Christmas stories are boring as hell. Who cares about Holly Jingles from Noel Village falling in love with Prince St. Nick? My story, entitled Elfie's Stupidly Pointless Christmas Adventure, is as cool as balls. Join me as I travel to North Korea, save Christmas after Fyo-Ho Claus cancelled it, and fall in love with a big-titted sea thought. Pooh! Available at Amazon.com.